EJ, let's go and get to some of this coaching talk, man. Listen, we call it coaching talk, but it's really Lane Kiffin talk, right? Nothing else really going on with any of the other coaching guys that we want to go after. There's talk that if Lane Kiffin does go to LSU or does go to Florida, that John Summerall is probably going to be next in line for the Ole Miss job, especially if Lane Kiffin does go to LSU. That's kind of a big rumbling. Lane Kiffin went and visited the University or Gainesville on Sunday, then went out and visited Baton Rouge, or his family did on Monday. Listen, it's getting spicy. It's getting spicy. There's a lot of rumblings within the LSU fan blogs and whatever you want to call it, and the Discord things, and or at least a big insider guy is saying that LSU actually offered Lane Kiffin already, and that he's going to make him the highest paid coach in college football, which is probably going to be around $15 million, I would say, per year. And now they're just waiting on Lane Kiffin. So that's what I'm a little. But here's the thing, right? LSU is probably going to offer Lane Kiffin a little bit more than we're going to offer him, I would say. Like, I feel like they're going to keep running it up. I feel like that's where LSU is. The big question is, EJ, and I want to hear your opinion on this, is will Lane Kiffin, does he want to go to a team that's having issues already, paying their last coach and everything going on with Brian Kelly? That's my thing, right? Do you really want to go to a school that's already having issues like that? I'm not totally sure. Do you want to go to a school that's being ran by the governor? Probably not. All those things are telling me that, and also too, who wants to live in Baton Rouge, right? And Lane did say it's not about the money, for sure, but all the coaches are going to, say that though. So you can kind of got to take that with a grain of salt. He also, there's also a lot of rumblings, CJ, last thing I'll say before I turn it to you. A lot of rumblings that saying that he has to make the decision before the Mississippi State game. If he doesn't, he won't be able to coach Ole Miss in the playoff. I don't really know how much I believe that. If he did go on Pat McAfee's show, I believe this morning or yesterday, and said that those reports are false and that he didn't have that conversation with the Ole Miss AD. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna know because LSU also said that it's gonna be announced. People that are optimistic said it's gonna be announced before the 28th, which is next Friday, I believe. So EJ, how do you feel about this? I just feel like I'm at the point now where I just don't care anymore. Like I just feel like no one knows what's going on. I don't even think Lane Kiffin knows what's going on. I think he's 100% going to leave. I think he's guaranteed to leave. He's a troll, no telling what's going to happen, but I think he's absolutely gone. The big question is he going to go to the NFL with the Giants? Is he going to go to LSU? Is he going to go to Florida? I mean, I don't know. And Rob and them are commenting in the chat here. LSU can offer more. He still can make more at UF. No state tax. That's very true. That's very true. I feel like one thing we can do, EJ, I don't mean to cut you off. One thing we could do is give incentives. If you win this, you get $1 million. If you whatever it is, I think that's the way that we can get LSU in this money battle.
The Lane Kiffin saga continues. And I can tell you exactly what I would do if I was Lane Kiffin, and he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. LSU, you fired Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly was winning 9-10 games. How many games are we going to win this year? 3. So right off the bat, you're going to a program where the expectation is win more at LSU than Florida. Florida, you have a 2 to 3 year ramp up. LSU, they'll throw you out tomorrow, and then they won't pay the bill like they're doing with Brian Kelly. That's a terrible look for them. Terrible. They should be paying him $50 million right now, but they're not. But Lane Kiffin, the only reason he's keeping the LSU talk, hey, honey, go to Baton Rouge, make it look like we're negotiating, is to keep Florida, keep the pencils sharpened in Gainesville. That's the only reason. Lane Kiffin, there has been never, ever, ever, ever one smidgen of information or intel from anybody that's close to him that he actually has ever even mentioned wanting to be the coach at LSU. Ever. The only reason this is coming up is because LSU's desperate. Okay, they fired Brian Kelly, who, here's their dilemma. Are you going to hire someone that's better than Brian Kelly? Well, maybe you would if you got Lane Kiffin, but anybody else is going to win just as many games there as Kelly did. And you'll be firing them in 2 years. But for us, I could literally close my eyes chug a bottle of Bacardi, and I could pick someone out of a random crowd who's going to win more games than Billy Napier with the players that we have. So no matter what we do, we're hiring a better coach. That's number two. Number three, these deals, these offers, they're ridiculous. Okay? We're resetting the market, people. A lot of people say, well, what has been our strategy? Our strategy has been go get the up and comer, pay them, top 15 level salary, but not top one, don't make him the highest paid coach, and we can save all this money. How much do you think we're going to pay Summerall if they hired him, hypothetically? Probably $7 million. That'll be 3 times more than what he's making at Tulane. Okay? And we wouldn't have to reset the market. The issue that Ole Miss has right now, which is so, I feel bad for them a little bit. Not too much. They seem to forget that their arch rival, who is on the same level as them, Mississippi State, we took their coach and we had no resistance from their fans. The Mississippi State fans were, oh, congratulations, Gators. You got a great coach in Dan Mullen. The Ole Miss fans are actually putting up a fight. They're putting up a fight. Here's the deal. Ole Miss, spoiler alert, if your coach is a candidate every year for some other job, you're not a top 10 job.
They brought up a great point. Jimmy Sexton is like Brian Kelly is a client of Jimmy Sexton. Why in the hell would Jimmy Sexton want Lane Kiffin to then go to LSU? That's a great point. Oh, wait, sorry. No, he does not represent. Yeah, he represents Lane Kiffin, but he does not represent Brian Kelly. But him and Brian Kelly's agent are apparently close together. So if you're Jimmy Sexton, why would you want your client? That makes total sense. That makes me think that there's no way he goes to LSU. There's no way. So
LSU
he's not,
is a smoke screen.
Yeah.
LSU is a smoke screen.
I agree.
And LSU fans, here's the deal. I know some LSU fans probably going to, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Florida fans are in shambles. Blah, 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 blah. Lane Kiffin has never, ever in his life indicated he was interested in LSU. We have a whole Google search of ties to Florida. This whole LSU business, I don't even want to hear about it. Now, LSU can't offer a lot of money. Apparently, here's these. Look at some of these reported offers. At least $13 million, $30 million in combined NIL, 6 to 8 year deal, full control of staff, hires, and program operations. Florida's reported offer, and this is Yahoo Sports. Ross Dellinger is giving us this information, by the way. 12 to 13 million. So not as much as LSU, but also, and I think somebody put it in the chat, remember Louisiana has a 4% state income tax. So 12 million in Florida is probably like 10 million in or 12 million in Louisiana is 10 million in Florida. So there you go. And a lot of houses are getting foreclosed in Florida, by the way. So maybe he gets a little cheaper. Scott Strickland has said we've put as many financial resources as we ever have in a coaching search. Full NIL backing. We got the best NIL collective. Ole Miss says they're better. Maybe they are. Now Ole Miss is countering 11 to 12 million per year, and that offer has been he's currently making 9. That offer's been on the table since we fired Billy Napier. Now, here's the deal. Why hasn't he signed it? Why hasn't he signed it? He hasn't signed it because he knows, number one, Ole Miss was never a long-term goal for me. If you want a long-term goal, then you got to hire an alumni. Why don't you go hire Eli Manning? What's he doing? He's an alum. At least if you hire an alum, you won't have to worry about this. The other thing is, Ole Miss will never have both sides of the coin when it comes to building an elite program, at least today. And both sides of the coin are, you got to have the transfer portal and the NIL, which they have, but you also have to have a natural recruiting pipeline to serve as the foundation of your team. And when you don't have the natural recruiting foundation and you always have to give NIL to get transfer portal guys, you're never going to be as good as Florida. That's the why we had half our team out there. Listen, we had half our team. Everybody's injured. You got a Make-A-Wish kid coach, interim coach. Okay? You're on the road. You've won 3 games, and you're playing against a top 10 Ole Miss team who's in their 6th year, who's apparently a top-rated team, and they can barely beat us. You know why? Because they don't have – we didn't have 3 of our best receivers. Could you imagine if we had Dallas Wilson, Eugene Wilson, and Vernell Brown all 100% in this game? We probably would have won the game somehow, just by default. So Ole Miss will never be at that level where they can have recruiting and NIL. And people say, well, Lane Kiffin doesn't recruit. You don't really need to recruit at Florida. You're going to get a top 10 class just by going to somebody's house and asking if you want to come. You're going to get top 10. So that's why they'll never be there. And Lane Kiffin is very competitive. He does not want to just ride off into the sunset. He wants to actually win a title. So that's why I think he comes to Florida. Now, this whole Summerall talk.
Okay, yeah, I just looked it up, actually, if you want me to give you some insight.
Yeah. Go for the Summerall talk.
Yeah, so apparently about 2 hours ago, On3 reported that Summerall was meeting with the Florida Gators on Thursday for the head coaching job. Everyone was dead set on it, and as of 40 minutes ago, they posted that it was actually called off, and that he is removing his name from the mix in the Florida's coaching search. So my question is since On3 was the, or I guess my whole thing is since On3 was the one reporting it, and then now they backtrack that quickly, it's like, was it actually canceled, or are they just trying to, cover their ass for having a false report, right? Like that's the big thing. But On3 is very reliable. On3 is,
if On3 is reporting it,
it's probably true.
It's probably true.
And so here's the thing, though. If that is true, and then they canceled it with John Summerall, does that mean that they figured something out with Lane? That's like, you know what I mean? Like that's my thing. Like or the fact that they were even, interviewing him. What does that say about how, confident they were about Lane? I don't know, EJ. This is like a whole mess right now. I don't know what to think, man.
In strategy, here's the deal. In negotiation, you have to have a best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Meaning, if we've already negotiated and we've given Lane Kiffin an agreement, we have to have an alternative that puts pressure on him to sign it. What's the alternative? Us going out there saying, hey, Summerall, you're the next, I guess, presumably you're the next highest coach. We just saw your press conference where you said your team isn't even that good. We like that kind of fire. So let's put him on the short list. That puts pressure on the Lane Kiffin camp to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, we don't want them to hire Summerall, so I need to make a decision. Here's the other question I have, Logan. Answer me this.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss is saying, well, if you don't make a decision by the Egg Bowl, you got to make a decision by the Egg Bowl. Or what? That's what I want to know. Or what? Ole Miss, you're going to fire him? You're going to fire the best coach you've had in 52-19? He picked you up off the freaking dirt and turned you into something. You're going to fire him because he's not giving you an answer? Hell. And they say, well, we want loyalty from Lane Kiffin. Well, last time I checked, let's look at the roster. 70% of your roster were players that were never even there last year. They're all from the transfer portal. So none of you care about loyalty when it comes to your own players. We actually recruit people, and Jaden Ball was a freshman. Okay? We didn't yank him from another school. No loyalty. But then I also want to say, before I turn it back to you to give you an answer to that question, there's an impossible catch-22 in college football right now. Number one, if you coach during the playoffs, which any good coach is going to be in the playoffs, you're never going to be available for another better job, potentially. Conversely, if you're not good enough to make the playoffs, no one's going to want you. So it's like, what the hell do we do now? Well, I'm in the playoffs. So back in the day when we had just BCS, the top two, you knew if you weren't, Ole Miss knew they weren't going to be one of the top two. So he can quit now and go to Florida. But now that we're going to these playoffs, and these playoffs bring in money for the school, well, I want to coach in the playoffs. You're not winning the playoffs. Maybe you'll win a game. They'll probably win a game if they go. But that's the difference between now and back in the day. The BCS, you had the top two. You knew you weren't in the top two. You knew you weren't in the top four. Ole Miss is not in the either. Well, what is it? If they beat Mississippi State, what would they be? 11-1 or 10-2? 11-1.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
11-1. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they still won't be higher than Georgia, so they're not in it by default. So that's the only thing I say. But what do you think about that? Is Ole Miss going to fire him? Like, what are they going to do?
Apparently, the reports are saying that they weren't going to fire him. They just weren't going to let him coach the playoff. But that makes zero sense. As an Ole Miss fan, why not the hell let him coach all the way? And you want to win a national championship. If you're not why the hell would you not let him coach one of your best teams you've ever had at Ole Miss? That's what I don't understand, right? This is a good football team that they have here. Why would you not have, take a shot in the national championship in a year where there's not a clear number one team? Yeah, Ohio State's good. Yeah, Indiana's good, right? But there's not a clear number one that's going to absolutely dominate the playoff. So why not go that route? So I don't really understand. I think that's probably
if they're
false.
If they're saying, give us a decision by the Egg Bowl or else. What's the or else? You're going to fire me?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
You're going to fire, because if you're going to say I can't coach in the playoffs, then you're firing me. So if you're firing me, then you're giving me my $4 million, or how many, I don't even know how much they owe him. You're giving me the $20 million, and you're trying to go hire who? Summerall? Maybe that's why we did that, because we were like, oh, Ole Miss is trying to hire Summerall, so we're gonna pretend that we're interviewing him.
or here's someone else brought this up in the comments section. What if this was gonna happen and the booster shut it down ASAP? Because it took them about an hour and a half to shut it down. Let's say they were about to do it, and the booster's like, hell no, we're not getting John Summerall, which, in my opinion, I think he's actually, like I said, a top 5 hire, in my opinion, overall.
Well, but here's the thing, guys. All three of our schools, we need backup plans. Okay? LSU, I think, is third on the list. I don't think they're second, because he's definitely leaving Ole Miss. So here's the deal. Lane Kiffin is not going to 2 of the 3 schools. So 2 of the 3 schools need a backup plan. LSU is the only one that I think is in probably making those plans, because we're all 100% all eggs in the Lane Kiffin basket. Right? And in any remote mention of any name other than Lane Kiffin puts our fan base in shambles. Good thing James Franklin already got hired, because he was the one I wanted. And now he's at Virginia Tech, going to bring back the hokey high. And now, if we don't get Kiffin, which I think is 99%, we're going to get Kiffin. But the 1% that we don't, we're screwed. Now, actually, I don't think we're screwed, because anyone you hire is going to be better than Napier of the list. Just don't hire Drinkowitz. Okay?
Yeah.
Drinkowitz, listen, guys, why don't I want Drinkowitz? Well, he's a good coach at Missouri. Well, first of all, that was Barry Odom that put Missouri on the map. And then number 2, Drinkowitz just brings nothing to the table. There's no calling card. There's no identity. What is his identity? There's nothing. I mean, they're a solid team, but at least with Kiffin, okay, offense. Dan Mullen, okay, offense. Drinkowitz.
Glasses.
Yeah. Dorky Bugs Bunny. I mean, I don't know what else. There's nothing. Summerall, okay, offense. Goalish. No huddle, quick strike. There's nothing with Drinkowitz. So anybody but him. Summerall, Goalish. Hell, they said Arkansas is going to hire Goalish. So all the coaches are going to be off the board as if we're waiting around for Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, no, you gotta do something, EJ. It's not great. Here's my final thoughts because it's already 5:22. We gotta do these week 13 picks. EJ, I think that we're gonna get news before the Egg Bowl. I really do. I think that's that Friday or that weekend, whatever it is. I think we're going to get news if Lane Kiffin's coming or not officially. I think he's gonna stay and coach Ole Miss to the playoff, but I do believe that we'll get news right then and there. If not, I'm not confident Lane's coming at all. I'm just gonna say that right now. I think if we don't hear the weekend of the Egg Bowl, I lose all hope in my opinion, because why the hell would Florida know? Because number one, we spoil everything as a fan base. For something, we can never keep anything quiet. My dad brought that up the other day, and I'm like, yeah, you're 100% right. Florida fans can never keep anything silent. And on boosters and stuff, so it would get out. So why? What's the benefit in Florida knowing but keeping it quiet during the playoff? Would Lane Kiffin get mad and not come? And maybe. But I think we're gonna know. I think that weekend is gonna be the telltale sign. We'll be here next week to talk about it, and of course the week after the Florida State game, that Sunday or whatever, we can do this and talk about it and dive deep into it. But that's my final thoughts, EJ. Anything you want to say lastly before we get into these picks?
Yes, my last prediction, because I like what you just said. My last and final. Lane Kiffin has already pretty much in his own head, he hasn't said it out loud because he's very strategic. He's going to come to Florida. He's got to keep the LSU charades going because it keeps our pencils sharpened. Ole Miss, sorry, you're out of luck. But if you get Summerall, you'll be good. Or Goalish. Hell, if you get Goalish, that might be better than Kiffin for all I know. Here's the deal. I think that the Egg Bowl's on Friday. It's next Friday. They're going to play the Egg Bowl. Seconds after the Egg Bowl. Maybe not seconds. Maybe the next day. Kiffin will be announced as leaving Ole Miss. They will have an interim coach. Who's their defensive coach? Pete Golding. He's going to be the interim coach. And Lane Kiffin's going to be coming to Florida Saturday the 29th. That's when you're going to hear it. That's the plan. So, well, that's not the plan. That's my prediction. So, that's how it's going to go down. And they're going to, well, he's going to tell us before the Egg Bowl. What are you going to do? Kick him off the team before your biggest rival? And you got to beat Mississippi State to go to the playoffs, geniuses. Do you really want this And Mississippi State could beat you. They almost beat us, and we almost beat you. Wait, where's that game? Is it in Starkville? They could easily beat you.
No, yeah, it's at Starkville.
Oh, yeah. They can definitely win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing you got a bye week, Ole Miss. So you need Lane Kiffin to beat Mississippi State, who's your arch rival, to make the playoff. So not too smart, Ole Miss. So that's all I got to say about that. He's going to coach that game. They're going to win. Pete Golding's going to be the interim coach. Lane Kiffin will be announced maybe that night, Saturday morning. And then Saturday we play FSU. He might be in the box with you in the FSU game. You never know.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we both agree that he's going to be probably the head coach after the Egg Bowl. It just really depends. I think he's going to coach the playoff. EJ doesn't. We'll see what happens.